Oops. Oh, fudge. Not yet.
And we're live. Good morning. Michelle's having a little trouble on the board this morning.
I'm going to start the right way. So here it comes, guys.
Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Good morning.
Take two.
Jim whispered over to me. He's like, I'm not the only one having cognitive issues this morning.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah.
So it's like we're both on an absolute roll. I was running around couldn't find my glasses, so I'm wearing Jim's.
Yeah. She's usually really good on the sequence of starting the thing. Hey, Anna Maria's glad with us this morning.
It's nice to see you this morning.
See you.
Yeah.
See your name.
See your name.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like thinking, why are we having cognitive? Probably too much eggnog. I don't know.
I haven't even had
it's
any.
Just I
doesn't
have.
explain
Never
why.
mind.
Yeah.
So that's my excuse.
Can't say.
Yeah. Excited for the holidays and everything coming up. We've just been spending a little bit of time. Got some of the lights on the front of the house, and it was an interesting experience to see Jim up on the roof. And I was like, "Don't fall!" And he just. Yep. Got up there and did his thing, and it was great. And the neighbors have already said, "Wow, your light," because they're blue. We just went straight blue on the lights, and they look really, really nice. So we'll have we'll post a picture on social.
We will.
So at some point. At some point. Do we have any announcements coming up?
No, nothing formal on the schedule. So still some stuff on the horizon.
Yeah, I just wanted to say yesterday we had one of our first meetings with the entire group. Well, Tim Lawrence wasn't able to make it, but with two of our founding sponsors to kind of go over what's our roadmap, what's our plan,
what's our CEO.
Yeah, and our interim CEO. It was really fun to have them meet and just get to know each other a little bit. So it was really a great meeting. There's a lot of fantastic things on the horizon for us in 2024, and we're just really, really excited to get moving.
And yesterday's meeting and today's topic are both evidence of our effort to continue to work on behalf of dealers and their consumers.
Absolutely.
In the Buy Here, Pay Here space.
Yeah.
So welcome. Also, of course, Lease Here, Pay Here. So we should dive into our topic for the day. So maybe even a little backstory before we jump into the document itself. So it may help for those tuning in, not knowing that, I'm a former dealer myself. I started managing a Buy Here, Pay Here store in 97. So I actually did a lot of the closings as a manager early on with a small team, and I did them all. And I continue to try to do as many of them as I could as a manager and then later as a dealer. And I think one of the things that we can talk about here as we go through this document is this document is really meant to be something different. It's not meant to be something that's in your batch or your bundle of documents that you sign with everything else. That's not what this is. So we prepared a form that we want to talk about.
Yeah, and we've used with our clients in the past, we've used something that we just call the buyers and sellers understanding. And it's kind of just like to make sure that all of the important pieces are addressed and that it's kind of a way to slow the process down and just make sure that the really important pieces are talked about. Well, this is like, we went through that and it's like, this is that, but with a white hat way spin. And this is the 1.0 of.
Yeah, this is 1.0. And I would say my main objective with this form was to go away from the details of the business transaction. We didn't talk about payments. We didn't talk about, so I purposefully stayed away from, and I've tried to focus on this is our business relationship. This is where we want to
It's
start
more
our
the
business
squiggly line
relationship.
stuff.
Yeah, it
I mean,
is.
all of the things they've signed before is a straight line.
Yeah.
That's your due date is such and your da-da-da is such and
Yep.
and all of that. But isn't this more like this is addressing the tone
Right.
that we want to set as our relationship moves forward from this day on?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's about tone. It's about foundation. It's about
Mhm.
just starting. Let's start the relationship from a certain place. And I
Mhm.
think, the things that come to mind for me is like, who's going to actually sign this on behalf of the dealer? This is meant to be a pledge between the dealer and the consumer.
Mhm.
And so I think it's not just what the form says, but the method that we use
Yeah.
to actually sign and
Yeah.
complete the form is significant because
And
it's really meant to get down to some stuff that we don't often talk about.
yeah, I agree. And some dealers that we've worked with, they have satellite locations and there's only salespeople and all of that. And so, this is something obviously that the salesperson would be taking care of. But I mean, for me, the person that should be there to help sign that document should be either the dealer, the general manager, or maybe even your collection manager.
And I'm going to offer you a technical way that the dealer could do it. I'm just saying, look, it's 2023. We got all kinds of technical ways that we can make these things happen. So I think I personally would be saying, let's have the dealer themselves do it. Now, some of these operations are high volume and may not make as much sense. But when it's practical technologically to do so, I would say the dealer themselves will sign it.
And it has something to do with who, when you have a problem, are you going to be sitting down with too?
Yeah.
So it's like, if that's the dealer, then it really is best as you can be the dealer.
But I'm just saying the pledge, if the pledge doesn't come from the top down,
that too.
That's to me, the pledge to me is that significant. So it's like, I would like for the dealer to make this pledge. And of course, when they do it, they're making the pledge on behalf of the entire organization.
Well, and so hopefully everyone's aligned and, all of that with.
And I guess we can go ahead and jump into the form.
Okay. So I'm going to change it over to this and then I'm going to put this up.
Okay.
This is, I'm going to enlarge my, my screen so that I can kind of read this. That's why I was looking for my glasses.
See it on your side.
We're going to, as soon as we're done reading this, I'm going to downsize it again and I'm going to put the actual document in the stream so that everyone can pull it up and look at it themselves. Actually, I think I'll do that first so that everyone can have a chance to.
You can attach it in the stream.
Actually, I can do this. And where is it? Do you have it available?
Just it's downloaded in the thing. I'm not sure how that's going to work actually.
Okay. Well, then maybe not.
Maybe not.
We'll put it in the stream as we get going. So let me re-enlarge this so I can read this. This is the buyers and sellers pledge.
Right.
And it's at the top. It says this non-legal form was provided as a courtesy by White Hat Way Incorporated, a company focused on the success of dealers and their customers. For more information, visit whitehatway.com. And so it's basically your sellers, the dealership name, finance company name, buyer, and buyer is at the top.
Right.
And so there's just 7 things that we as we were kind of discussing that made sense. And like I said, this is 1.0.
This is going to require some formatting and some rearranging.
But we're going to share this with everybody today.
The pledges that are listed here are in no particular order. They could probably be redone to have a little better flow. But I think the main points are here. And so really what we're doing is we're just trying to say, and by the way, I would just say before we even go into this, that the buyers and sellers understanding that we referred to, that was more like a 15-point list, 12 to 15 points on a single page. And we would go through and each would initial, and it covered specific things like,
you understand
what to do if there's a problem with the payment, or, if you have a late or you have a bad check, this is what happens, and so on. It kind of dealt with, this is kind of how we do business.
Yeah.
And even that, I liked to sign before the big stack of documents were signed, because the idea, and it sort of could be the same idea here, is that, look, if we're not in agreement on these, then we probably don't need to sign that big stack of documents. And I love
that.
It's like,
I really love that.
it's like we don't, if we're not in alignment on this, then, and it's just a pledge. We're just making the pledge to one another at this stage of our business relationship that this is how we expect to conduct business.
Yeah.
Okay. And so in that way, it's just meant to, so I would love to sit with the customer. Like if I were manager or whoever's going to be presenting this document to the customer, I would like to go sit with them with just this document on the desk and just go through it one by one and initial it.
And then the rest of it comes in is what you're kind of thinking.
Yeah. But I'm saying you're going to initial one at a time. It's not read it, and then everybody initial. Yeah, it's like, we're going to take them one at a time. Are you clear on that?
Yeah. And we were talking kind of about that this morning, and it's also about like sitting at the same table. And I'm not saying across the table, because in a way, you want to be like, we're sitting on the same side of the table. We're on the same side of the table. Let's just make sure that we agree on this side of the table.
Yeah.
And it's the eye contact kind of thing too.
I think the other thing, it could be an indication. If you've got a dealer who says to me, let's imagine there's a dealer listening this morning somewhere and they see this and they say, we don't have time for this. We're trying to move along these deals. And so this is going to take, we don't want to slow down our process. And I'm thinking, really? So you want to rush into a relationship with somebody you don't know, and you're not going to take it.
Everybody has their own business plan. Everybody has their own whatever.
Saying, let's understand this is the opportunity that exists here, because I'm just saying when we I'll just call it shortcutting. When we want to shortcut the process and move through it quickly into the thing, then I think we're hurrying into a relationship that we really don't know each other well, right? And so this is an opportunity for us to make sure that we're
set the tone,
start from the same place. And it's when we read it, you'll see it's a really basic. Go ahead.
So the first one is, we both pledge to maintain open and honest communication throughout this business relationship.
Pretty simple. We both pledge to maintain open and honest communication throughout this relationship.
It's like, I will, and we're asking you to. We both wish, and you do like the seller is going to sign it first. Boom. And we both wish to experience the satisfaction of reaching the end of this agreement. So it's like, we're in for, to help you get to the end, and they're committing to get to the end. Right. Kind of thing.
I also, by the way, I'll stop and show that I actually purposefully put the seller's initials first and then the buyer.
Yeah.
I want the seller to sign first, saying, I'm making this pledge. And if it's if this dealer's ultimately going to sign it and I'm the manager, I can initial over on the side, basically to
absolutely.
Just say, I'm in it too.
Right? Yeah. Third is, we agree that we are starting this business relationship from a place of mutual trust and respect.
So simple.
Because honestly, dealers, if you don't have that, just on your own, that why would you want to do business with someone that you're not going to be like, I'm trusting you here?
Yeah.
And obviously, you want to be respectful.
We get that it's a changing game, right? We're all working on being more digital, and we've got different ways we can accelerate the process. And I'm simply saying, look, this is old school. It's fundamental.
Yeah.
And it's the way I've always thought about the business. This is just putting a simple thing in writing.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead.
The next one is, we agree that only written understandings are valid. And there's a reason behind that. And it's just like, we believe in getting things in writing. And that verbal understandings, if we come up with a verbal understanding, we're going to expect you to sign something to say that you agree to this. So that,
Well, it's also about, you're about to sign the closing documents, and among the closing documents would typically be a we owe form. And the we owe form simply states, these are things that we promised you that we owe you after today.
That's another whole topic.
It is, but it's kind of ties to this thing. Yeah, it is. So that we owe thing is something that we have our own feelings about how those can be handled. But I think what we're really trying to say is, none of us can be held to a standard that makes us try to honor verbal promises.
Well, and it's like he said, she said. And that's really, it's hard, because I don't know about you, but you can have a conversation and walk away with a completely different meaning from the person that's sitting next to you just from the conversation. So having it in writing helps to keep it really solid and really clear.
And I kind of, you can start to step over on the collection side. If somebody leaves a voice message after hours and says, unfortunately, I won't be able to pay you till next paycheck, I'm gonna pay double. That's not an understanding, And so it's like, I'm just trying to express as clearly as I can. We want everything in writing.
And so even when you're having this conversation, giving examples, like these are things that, we need to have a conversation, and, a message is great, but we need to have things in writing. So the next one says, we agree that only, we both pledge to honor all written understandings.
Yeah.
And that's the we owe, that's the, whatever understanding you have for a payment, or even if like, hey, if you make payments on time for 3 times in a row, that we're going to do this, that you're going to honor that written understanding.
Both parties are going to honor any written understanding.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. The next one is, we define success in this relationship as reaching the end in a way that we'd happily do business again.
That's a very successul business relationship.
That's a very important piece. It's like, this is, when we talk about, we want to experience the satisfaction of reaching the end of this agreement, but satisfactorily reaching the end of the agreement and having a successful relationship. This is like another layer to that. That's that you would be happily doing business again.
Sure.
And then the last one is, when setbacks arise, we pledge to communicate openly with the goal of finding solutions together.
Yep. And so, again, it could be rearranged for order so that it flows a little better as you read it. And let me just make sure and address one piece of this right away.
Yeah.
Like, the thing that I would say about this is, if you have 100 customers sign it, does that mean all 100 customers are going to comply with every part of the pledge?
No.
I doubt it.
But it might increase your chances by a few.
But I think as much as anything, what happens here is it expresses, instead of leaving things unsaid, it expresses to the customer in a very clear way, this is where we're coming from in this relationship. This is where we're starting from. Okay. So we're basically just trying to say, and it also covers this thing about, if I'm the dealer, I have some comfort in knowing that if I ever do find it necessary to repossess in the future, that I can have the satisfaction knowing that I tried everything sensible to be able to make that. Are you trying to find the document?
Yeah, I am.
I don't think I shared it with you, so
okay.
I'm probably not going to find it.
Okay, no, go ahead.
It was 7 a.m. You weren't even awake.
No, I'll get it put on there just a little bit.
We'll get it out there later. So I think the idea is that it gives me the satisfaction knowing I did my part. I did everything I could at the time that I met the customer to start us from a place of mutual respect and trust. And the best way I know for us to do that, it's unfair to me. I hear dealers and collectors, and sometimes we're out there holding folks accountable to something that we never really expressed to them very clearly. We know it because we do it all the time.
We do have an obligation to do that.
Yeah, we absolutely do.
Yeah.
And so this goes really more toward not the specifics of the understanding and late fees and all the details. This is going to a broader level. That's because I chose not to incorporate the phrasing 10-year approach, too hard to explain in a short document, but I'm certainly bringing a 10-year approach to my mindset as I sit with this customer and go through this document.
Yeah.
So I'm saying all those other details, late fees and payment arrangements and all the other details, they're all going to come through this understanding. And if we all have a mutual respect and we all honor written understandings and we communicate openly when there's a problem, we can get through anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it's like, that's the approach that I want to start to incorporate. And so this is the idea, is just to make sure that it's done in a way that, and look, we it's a copywritten thing. We're happy to share it, make it available. We want to make sure the language is consistent. Obviously, you can write your own of some kind if you feel like you want to. But to call it a white hat way pledge, it needs to reflect the language that we would use. So we just think that's that's part of what you're going to see us doing going forward, is part of
Yeah.
what White Hat Way is taking shape to be. And it's all part of a step. I don't mind sharing with folks that, it's part of a step toward, we anticipate that White Hat Way, when I say anticipate, we're working on making it a reality, that White Hat Way will have a conflict resolution element. And that just means that for us to do that, we kind of have to be outside the transaction. We have to be a referee who happens to wear a white hat, and it's really just there to be a mediator and have an interest in the success of the dealer and the consumer. If needed.
Yeah.
But imagine how different that is if this form is part of the understanding when we come into the picture, that pledge is already in place. And that's easier for us to, when we know that both parties have pledged and have the same interests in the understanding, and they both are thinking long term, then our ability to reach a resolution is much better, right? So I think this is where conflict comes from. It's like, when we don't make time to communicate clearly, and I would just say the burden is on us, dealers. The burden is on us to make sure we express to customers, and that we take the first step and get out there and be able to, with this document, it's like we're making a pledge. We're signing first.
Yep.
If you're not comfortable signing, then say so, and we won't do business today. But it's like, if just understand, this is our commitment to you, right? And so surely once we do that, and again, I'm not saying this may not move your repossession one iota. I'm not saying it will. The document by itself certainly won't. It's going to be the document combined with your attitude that you bring to it day after day after day. And then that could start to move your repo rates. And even in those times where you're not successful and you do have a repossession, you're going to have the satisfaction of knowing, I did my part. I did everything I could. I honored my part of the pledge. I communicated openly. I was available to find solutions.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and imagine, as there are dealers out there that have all different sizes of operations, but imagine, if you will, that it decreases your repo rate by 3 vehicles a year, 4 vehicles a year, 5-year vehicle, and what kind of impact that has too on your business.
Sure.
It's like we're seeing more people that are seeing this to the end, or seeing this to a resolution that both parties agree on.
Yeah.
And that you're able to potentially have that kind of relationship, that even if they get in a tough spot and you have to do something, that you still maintain, I want to do business with you in the future, or let's whatever.
Yeah. And I think this whole, one of the things way I feel like can do, and you and I spend a lot of time talking about the squiggly lines elements. Like we're in a time in our industry where technology is sweeping the industry, which is beautiful. We're always talking about how to get more and more customers on auto pay and all these kind of things. And while that is a nice opportunity, it's also going to create this scenario where we don't have much of a relationship with this consumer. And if that's okay with us and it's part of our business model and strategy, that's okay. I think we all can understand we may pay a price for not having a relationship with the customer when there are setbacks. So I'm really just simply trying to do something here where, if I'm the dealer and I'm the one signing it, I want to be able to sit with the customer and look him in the eye and say, we're starting from a place of mutual trust and respect. Say it again. I'm going to look you in the eye. I'm going to say, we are starting this business relationship from a place of mutual trust and respect. I expect to continue to show up and honor my part of the understanding. Now, if you agree and you want to pledge the same, you put your initials right there.
And if there's a problem, come and sit here and talk to me.
Right. Yeah. So I think this is where we start to kind of firm up relationships. And look, people are busy and dealers are busy. And it's not that if you have 1,000 account portfolio, it's not that you're going to have a intimate relationship with all of them. But if that relationship started from this place, and 6 months of lack of communication, and we're still in that place, just because we're not communicating doesn't mean that's changed.
Well, and you think about, how many people do we have that end up repoing that would have been or had been a good customer, and then something happened or whatever, and you just, it's like that was taken out of, because obviously there's going to be troublemakers. There's going to be those that really have no intent all along. But if those are the ones that you have a relationship with, It's like, and they know, because when you said you may not have time to have this relationship with everybody, but really, who is it that needs to have that kind of relationship?
Yeah.
And it's just a small fraction of the people in your portfolio that need that kind of relationship.
Yeah, for sure. And this ties in. We've talked about it before, but I want to make a note just because customer advocacy is something we've talked about in the past, and we haven't talked about it much recently. But I think all of these things kind of can tie together. It's part of why we see, advocacy playing a role here. And I just think what it really does is it gives us a chance to just communicate in a way that is uncommon. And, we do have an uncommon kind of business relationship. It's not like, our dry cleaners or whatever. In this case, we have a 3-4 year relationship with a customer at some level. There's going to be some sort of ongoing dialogue. And I think we, as dealers, I think most of us would accept the responsibility of, furthering that relationship, doing anything we can to make trust deposits, as we talk about, make trust deposits, help the customers understand I'm still here. I still care about your success. And I'm
and it is essential. I think it's essential for us to deposit enough, especially in this digital time, for us to deposit enough in our trust bank with them at the closing, at the beginning of the relationship. It's like, let's do what we can to just start that. Let's jumpstart that, put a little bit of fire in it. This is what we mean, so that when the time comes, you've made a bigger impact at the beginning that they'll remember.
Yeah.
And then, if you've got newsletters that go out or whatever, or, we talk frequently about, over the course of the next week after a loan closes, that there are things that you're going to want to reiterate to them through an email, through a text message, through a video, all of that. And this could be a really beautiful thing to reiterate, even if you're sending them another copy of it. And hey, don't forget that, that these are the things that we pledge to you. And so, and just things that you can do to really, solidify and just put as many deposits as you can in the beginning. It's like, this is what we mean. This is what we mean. This is what we mean.
Yeah.
Do it.
And some people will also hear this. And I think this is also could be a whole separate subject for us in a way, but it's like, some people will hear this and think, well, for me to make trust deposits, I basically have to go above and beyond and do. No, you honor the understandings in writing. If you put an understanding in writing, you got a 90-day powertrain warranty, and the transmission goes out, you honor it. There's nothing in anything that White Hat Way and Jim Rhoads is going to teach that calls for the dealer to take all the responsibility. That's not what we're advocating for. We're simply saying we want the customer to honor their part of the business relationship, and we're prepared to hold them accountable to do so. We believe that, in this business relationship, if it's in writing, it's in writing. If not, it's a kind of a common problem. We both, if we're outside of warranty and our car fails, that's a problem for both of us. Let's sit down and figure it out together. But it's not entirely my responsibility as a dealer to get out the checkbook and solve the problem financially. We work together. And that's all I said in the form was, we agree that when there's setbacks, we're going to get together and work together to solve the problem. That's where I left it. It's like, that's what I'm asking, consumers to be ready to do their part. And so this is part of where I think sometimes it's an interesting conversation around customer service, because a carryover from other parts of retail business and franchise business is that the way to serve customers is to pay for everything, do everything, treat them right. And I think in our line of work, that's a dangerous place to be. And so I think we can have better fences than that. And so this is about that old thing about, good fences make good neighbors. And I think we want to have a long business relationship, and we keep the boundaries clear, and we both honor our part of the understanding. And doesn't mean that, today's understanding won't favor you a little bit, and the next one might favor me a little bit, but let's
just keep the communication lines open, so that we can
solve problems, and we keep moving forward and keep thinking about 10 years down the line.
Imagine too, what we mentioned at the beginning, as we continue to develop what is White Hat Way, what offerings White Hat Way has to help a dealer. It's, it's not just about listening to us talk on a podcast about philosophy and all, but we are working towards products that will help dealers. And one of those that is slated for something to beta this next year is that conflict resolution and potentially adding a layer of reputation management in there.
Right.
So that
these are the
it's
things that we feel like White Hat Way can do better for a dealer than they can do for themselves, because we're outside of it. Right. And so this is why
it's a neutral space for someone to be able to have a conversation about something that is a problem.
Right.
And we realize that, you know, sometimes a consumer or customers just don't want to accept responsibility for something or whatever. But this is just an extra layer of something we feel like the industry could really benefit from.
Yeah.
In that realm.
I don't have anything else on today's topic. We can wrap up from there, but stay tuned.
Happy Monday. Hey guys.
Subject.
I mean, there's an announcement.
Yeah.
December 1st is this week.
Get us some feedback on this form. For those of you who tune in and catch the episode, if you have suggestions for additional points that ought to be part of the thing, shoot it in, let us know. And we'll
as soon as we close this out, Jim's going to add it to the streams so that you can take a look at it and feel free to use it. Feel free to use it tomorrow.
Okay.
With the next batch of people that come in as customers.
Just please don't change the language.
Please don't change the language. It is copyrighted.
Right. Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining. Have a great day.